Welcome back, y'all, to T3, that Thursday thing. I'm Mr. U. Herb is in the house. Shane is working through some technical issues. Not sure what's happening, but it was fun. You guys missed it. But good to have you in the house, brother. How you doing, man?
Man, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful night.
I know.
Let's get right. to it.
All right, Shane should be back on with us momentarily. Got some people in the house already in the comment section. My guy Rod Ragsday got a new nickname I heard. Not sure what he chose, but maybe he can share that with us. Evening, sir. He's one half of the Herb and Raj podcast, of course, every Tuesday night on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter at 8 p.m. CST. You can find these gentlemen talking college sports and a whole bunch of other stuff. Love it. All right, the Running Wrestling Pod. My guy Big Mike's in the house. What's up, fam? Fantastic wrestling show. I'm not biased. I've been a fan of their work for a while. They do fantastic work out here on the pro wrestling side. So if you're new to pro wrestling or you just haven't had a show you enjoy to watch, check out Big Mike and Spare Rock on the Running Wrestling Pod. You will not be sorry. Promise you that. All right, Shane. Everything good with you, brother? You're back or we going black screen all night? What we doing? You with us, man? This is some good. I love my brothers, man. This is fun. All right. West Coast wins in the house.
What's up, Win?
So good to have you.
Oh, what's up, Mike?
Everywhere I'm doing work, West Coast wins in the house. I'm like, I'm loving this. I'm doing podcasts with other people, and West Coast Win is there. Faithful. Thank you, West Coast. I appreciate you so much. KJ's in the house. What's up, Carissa? Good evening. We are excited about the show. Excited to see you here. Ready to talk some sports. Shane, can you hear us? You with us?
I can
How's
hear
it
you.
going, bro? Okay. I can hear you and I can see you. Good stuff.
Shane was in the he was in the transfer portal for a minute. He was exploring his options. That's all it was.
Where did you end up?
Up to date. I can't release that information yet.
Yeah.
West Virginia Community
Waiting
College,
for the offer from Rod Jarek to get me. Is
that the new nickname, or do we have some kind of other? Is that the one that's been chosen?
I haven't looked at the poll to see. I think it ends today, though, right? Or it might already be over. So yes, it's coming up quick. I thought podcaster Raj would win it, but more people like Rod Jarek than I realized.
I picked podcaster Raj, but it does have a ring to it.
I made a comment. I made a choice. But I made a comment. I thought he would just go ahead and put them all together. I thought that'd be fly.
Podcaster Rod Jarek, yeah.
Both choices together somehow in some kind of a conglomeration. Yeah. I thought that'd be awesome.
That's like an 80s DJ right there.
Yeah, podcaster Rod Jarek on the ones and twos.
Hey, got a little ring to it. You make T-shirts with initials. Come on, man.
So do you know where Rod Jarek comes from? On another program that I was on. Oh, go ahead. You got a guess?
No, I'm thinking his twins tried to say his name, and that's how it's happened.
Somebody online, that's how they try to pronounce his name. He posted the comment, and they said, "Oh, we got a comment here from Rod Jarek." And Raj texts me in the middle of the program. I've never heard my name said like that before.
Hopefully, the person that said that's not on listening to this show right now. But my God, that name's got a new name. It's been around. It's not like Taniqua and Bonquisha. It's been around for a while. Roderick is not a new name. Maybe the spelling, the G in it, but it's not Rod Jarek. How do you? I don't know how we got to Rod Jarek, but it sounds cool. Podcast Rod Jarek. Okay.
We're getting T-shirts made.
Why not? Get paid. All right. So the last time we had our episode, last time we were together, we had not yet gotten into the AFC and NFC title games. Hopefully it's not too stale for you guys, but I want to kind of walk through it, talk about what we saw, maybe what we didn't see. The kind of things that went on leading up into the eventual Super Bowl. So let's go ahead and kind of jump in we'll start from I'm about to say the Redskins. It's still in me. The Commanders and the Eagles. And start there. What's your takes on that?
That one was like, the Commanders came out, they were aggressive. What was that first drive? A couple fourth downs they converted until the third one. They were like, all right, we've pushed it enough. Let's kick a field goal. Seemed like, okay, they're setting a good tone. And then Philly gets the ball, runs one play, and takes a lead that they never, relinquish it. It just kind of tells you the differences. Now, I realize the score is really bad, but the Commanders are ahead of schedule. right? And I still think you have a lot to be proud of for this season. You know, it sucks to get to that point. Think we're one game away, but you got to think their future is bright, you know. But this just looked like, forget those other 2 games that we played. I know we split them. I know they were close. It's just like Philly just knew what they had. And even with Saquon, you know, a little banged up, I guess, early on and not getting as many touches, when he got out there, he was still electric. You know, Jalen Hurts looked better than he's looked in the whole play. Did it feel like he had more passing yards in this than like the previous 2 games combined, you know, or close, right? So they were just clicking, and they really just overwhelmed them. You know, I think the best moment was Shipley getting his long run and almost scoring, and tongue wagging and headed, you know, watching the scoreboard to see who's about to track him down. You know, it was just one of those kind of games that just quickly turned into a rout. So, you know, kudos to Philly.
Yeah, I want to come back to that point about the them being ahead of schedule, but I think, and this is maybe just a me thing, and then you guys suffer from this disease. Sometimes you feel like, you know what? Even though the numbers say what they say, I'm trying to make more of this than what it's actually going to be. I felt like I did that a little bit with the national championship this year. We've seen some things in the numbers that say what it's going to be, but I say, you know what? I hate Ohio State so much. I imagine that Notre Dame can pull this off, despite the numbers that I'm seeing. It's kind of the same thing with Washington. They were ranked 30th in defense. I think it was. I think it's past defense. I don't know what their rush defense is, but it's pretty low too as well. And they play in Saquon. I'm like, if I hate the Eagles with all my heart, even if that's almost an insurmountable mountain to climb when your defense is ranked that low all year long, and you're going to come in here and play an offense like the Eagles and just not do what you've been having a tendency to do all this year. It's really not. It's not reasonable. So after that play from Saquon, like you said, 60-yard touchdown. I don't know how many plays they were in before he ran.
No, that was the first. That was the first play. That was their first offensive touch, 60-yard touchdown.
If there was any wind in the sails, it was gone. The breath came out of the whole play. It was like, I mean, they won by 32 points, but it was almost over long before then. And the Commanders were just trying to catch up. But Shane, what you see overall? We can get into some X's and O's and some things we think were mistakes on both sides or whatever. But overall, Shane, what do you think about the Washington Philly game?
I mean, the big thing for me is that Howie Rosen has decided he wants strength on both lines.
Yep.
And that's what showed up against the Commanders. I mean, total domination from the offensive line. 7 touchdowns. Like Herb already mentioned, I mean, Shipley has speed, got caught, but I mean, wide open hole. On Saquon's first touchdown, Jordan Mailata took A.J. Brown, threw him into 2 defenders, then apologized to A.J. Brown for using him basically just as a shield for Saquon Barkley to score that touchdown. Then you see Jalen Carter jump over a block, and you knew that both sides of the ball, that line was going to be dominant. I mean, I picked Philly on that. I think, like both of you have already mentioned, it's hard to say anything to Washington to go like, hey, you guys are ahead of schedule when you get stomped like that. Definitely. You know, if you're a fan of the Commanders, it's not easy to take, but I think even diehard Commanders fans never would have thought that they would have been in the NFC Championship game right now. Jaden Daniels didn't look overwhelmed. I think they have room for offense. I think they knew their defense was going to be their weakest point this year, and now you're going to give them a chance to go and get some guys to fill some holes. I mean, just an all-around dominant performance from Philly. I think for them, their biggest hope is that they didn't, waste it, because they've done this before when they've had to face Kansas City, and it's going to be a different game for them. So if you're a Philly fan, you hope that you kept a couple of rushing touchdowns on the board and didn't just waste them.
No, we definitely going to touch that one too, for sure, man. Like you said with the defense, it was kind of surprising to see some things happen, like with Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, he's known most for his to some degree for his time in New Orleans and his rivalry against the Bucks, Mike Evans. He's kind of known for that, but his behavior this time around was kind of a shock a little bit. It was kind of out of character. He lost his cool on a couple of occasions, and I think it cost them. Defensively, I think I expected a little bit more because of who they went out and got. Yeah, they were a string of 1-year deals. I think most of them. I know Bobby Wagner, his name comes to mind. Or Frankie Louisville kind of outplayed his coverage for sure. He's played himself into a nice little contract whenever it comes up. he's been pretty dominant out there and just playing all around good football. But Lattimore, he's the kind of guy that you brought him in there for a specific reason.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
It wasn't for him to come in and just be a piece. He's going to bring some kind of pedigree. I don't remember if he was on the Super Bowl team. I'm blanking out on that part with the Saints. But even if he wasn't, he brought a pedigree to the table, and they were expecting out of him, especially playmakers on that side of the ball. And honestly, that's not what really happened. I know people are going to say, "Oh, this is NFC East bias." I have to say that because people don't listen to me. They kind of just make assumptions about what I'm saying. But I think they're going to take a step back. I don't think they're going to go forward from where they are right now. I don't think it's going to happen. Because I think that the Eagles are definitely going to improve. I mean, they got a lot of good things going for them on both sides of the ball right now. Everything they do is going to be gravy. They to some degree fixed the secondary. I think we can say, you know what? They look pretty good over there. They've been playing pretty good and kind of man in that middle part of the field and taking away some things from the opposing offense. But I think they're going to be probably fighting for a wild card spot. I don't think the Cowboys are going to come in and go back to where they were. Some people do. I'm not quite sure about that, but the Eagles are definitely going to be kind of back in the driver's seat in the division. So right now they played with house money last week. I think that they, like you said, they were way ahead of schedule. Everything they do now is going to be just gravy. Locking down some long-term guys on the defensive side for sure. Bringing some more playmakers in with Cherry and Mack because they need that. I like me some De'Ami Brown, but I never thought he was a wide receiver too.
Right.
He was a 3 for a reason. So you got to bring somebody else in to kind of take that spot. And when that happens and they demand more coverage, him, McLaurin, whoever's the wide receiver too, De'Ami Brown is going to eat. It makes the offense that much better. They're going to need an edge rusher. They're going to need help in that area very, very badly. So I think they're going to be working from – they're going to go into next year where we got experience. We've seen things that and responded well to things that we probably should not have, being a young team, and they're going to be better for it. So any thoughts on just kind of where they are as far as, heading into next season? Do you kind of see something that I'm not seeing, or do you agree that they're going to probably be working towards a wild card playoff spot next year? What do you think?
No, I think you're right on that. I don't know that I would have them overtaking Philly. You also have to kind of look at the CJ Stroud from last year. Does Daniels hit that sophomore slump? You know what I mean? Is that a very, very real thing? Because like this time last year, we were talking about CJ Stroud and what's going to happen next year? And he had and we had arguably a better, core of passers. And I know injuries kind of came and went there, but he didn't look the same either. So you do have to think about that. And then one of the things you brought up there was key right there. I feel like they do need a second wide receiver, to go along with McLaurin, but you clearly have to fix the defense. So like, are you doing a mixture of draft and it's kind of like, where do you think that you are? If you feel like you're ahead of schedule and this is your kind of Super Bowl window, then maybe you're hitting both of those. You're hitting really good in free agency and you're hitting the draft. Or if it's kind of like you said, look, we're not going to overtake the Eagles. Let's not, take all our shots right now. Excuse me. Take all of our shots right now and kind of like, let's continue to build the team and say, like, what is this team going to look like 2 or 3 years from now? And maybe that's our best shot. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing that too. What I want to ask you guys, ask both of you, where's that wide receiver 2 coming from? Because they picked 27th in the draft. We're going to talk about the draft a little later in the show, but are they picking their wide receiver 2 from the draft? If a team that has done what they've done, like I said, play with house money, what they've done, are they going the free agent route instead? Or they're trying to get that guy from the draft at 27.
I think they go free
that's what I
agent.
do.
Yeah, I think they go free agent route for the wide receiver. They've shown their free agent hits this year were offensive. Austin Eckler, Ertz, picking up some guys that could play a little bit more offense for them. I think that they build through the draft because I think you can get some more pieces in the draft and you can have some of those guys, maybe you give them another 1 year run. But I mean, if you're the Commanders, you look like, had we not had a terrible owner and some other stuff, the Commanders had an all-star defensive line even 2 years ago, and they traded all of those pieces away. And right now, they'd be, head over heels to have even two of those guys right now. And so I think they build again through the draft defensively. I think this year, wide receiver wise, you have a lot of guys that used to be number ones that are probably better off being twos right now that are coming off injuries where you might be able to get them at a lower price in a prove me season. And if I'm the here I am doing it too. If I'm the Commanders,
it's easy to do though. I forget. Yeah. Yeah.
So what kind of guys are you thinking about? Because right now I didn't come prepared for that, but now that we're talking about it, what kind of guys are out there that can be targets? Because I really don't know who would be available.
Say somebody like Hollywood Brown at Kansas City. They thought he was going to have a huge year. He ends up getting hurt. Has he diminished? Hard to tell. He didn't get a chance to play. I mean, do the Bengals not figure out that you want to keep Joe Burrow happy and they let T. Higgins figure a way out there? I mean, if I'm Washington and I think I have a shot,
that's a good pick.
Why not give me 2 speed guys and I try to figure it out? There's a bunch of middle round guys that used to be number ones that I think you can get on the cheap this year and be able to pill somebody out.
Who we thinking? Like who?
Hollywood Brown is the one that really popped up to me off the injury, but you're also I think Diggs is in that same one. He's a free agent coming up. Yeah. So I mean, you've got some guys that are right in that same precipice that give you another shot.
Mm-hmm. Can I would rather draft my number 2, especially if I think that if I think they're a couple years away and the way the wide receiver draft goes, I can pick up somebody in the 2nd or 3rd round. And I just glanced at one that I had pulled up here, and they mocked Trey Harris out of Ole Miss to them in the 2nd round, a very prolific receiver there. Now I'm cheating. Like I said, I got a draft pulled up. That's not a name I pulled up.
No, it's good. That's
I'm
good.
like,
I want that. Yeah.
Yeah. But so that's that. I mean, I think that'd be a great thing, address defense 1st round, see what's out there 2nd round to get another one. And then that player still is now on your timeline versus if I get one in free agency, I'm like, hey man, we're really thinking about next year after versus I draft one. I'm like, okay, we've got a shot here with him, to maybe maintain what we had last year. That 2nd, 3rd rounder doesn't pan out. I've still addressed my defensive needs. I've tried to fill out the rest of the team, and I still got, another year or 2 to actually get that. So I just think it depends on their long-term versus short-term thinking.
I agree. Yeah. I think I could see them going somebody like Fannin, the tight end / wide receiver out of Bowling Green that put up some big numbers. He's a guy you can kind of play in their offense that fits with a tight end with not a regular tight end build. And then I also think I'm going off his name right now, but the kid that went off for San Jose State this year that used to be a quarterback has only played wide receiver for basically like a year, but led the nation in receiving and touchdowns.
Right, the one they thought should have won the
blitz.
Yeah.
I think like you said on that, Herb, you can find that guy. For me, I think their offense the defense needs serious help.
Yes.
And I don't think that you can plug and play as easily there. Where if I could get some size and at least help my defensive line, I think you can make some runs. If Kingsbury stays and you can kind of add a weapon to offense, I think that jump starts the offense much faster than anybody that Washington's going to get a chance unless they come together with some amazing package to get a defender. Because I don't think other than, Abdul Carter, I don't think there's a ton of defenders that automatically change the team they go to, regardless of how they are defensively.
Yeah. And Kingsbury's going to stay. That was reported that he's going to go ahead and stay with them.
Yeah.
That's good. I don't think Ibuka from Ohio State's going to fall that far at 27, but you never know. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are making a push in the first round. Some linemen. Maybe if we have time, we can talk about them. So maybe Ibuka will fall to 27. Got a comment jumping in from Raj. I hope the Arizona wide receiver falls to Carolina. Love to see him pair with Bryce. I guess you must mean McMillan.
Yeah, he means McMillan. Yeah,
Or McMillan. He's nice, man. But I think he's a top 10.
Last night, I picked him for the. I said if the Patriots don't pick Abdul Carter or they don't let somebody go, McMillan should be the one they go for.
Not too shabby.
Just
not too
an
shabby.
absolutely huge catch radius from McMillan.
Oh yeah, huge hands. He's maybe a dead with.
I just think most drafts I see has him like a top 10 guy for sure, though.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
For
It's
sure.
been
I think he goes early.
And the Dolphins
I
are picking
think
13.
top 10. I think it's been top 7 everywhere I've looked. Maybe
Oh,
top
I'm
8.
sorry.
Yeah, it's been.
Sorry, I forgot he's talking about Carolina, not the Dolphins. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot where they pick. I got.
Yeah, they're picking at 8. Yeah, so
8,
yeah.
It could happen, but
Yeah, well, the draft that I have pulled up has them getting McMillan. So, but again,
Really?
you can find, yeah. Now I pulled up one. This is at Tankathon, so it's. I wanted a draft that gave me all the rounds, so I picked that. So I could pull up like 2 or 3 like just first rounders, but I wanted one that kind of gave me more to look at. So.
Oh yeah, no question. I like Tankathon. It's pretty good. I used it last week, especially. But there's some challenges on the Eagles O line. This is kind of stuff you don't want to hear this if you're an Eagles fan. Because it's like, hey, last time they played each other, the bottom kind of fell out, and they had a shot to get their second Super Bowl, and just flamed out. Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens both got injured in last week's game. One with his back, and I think Jurgens, his back was just a dicey situation, and Dickerson was just limping really, really bad. Don't know what's wrong with him. They were playing with house money with that line, but if those two guys go down, I don't know who they got back there that's going to be able to, keep things secure for them and keep them in this game. So there's going to definitely be that. Everybody, I mean, how you guys felt about Jalen Hurts in this particular game? Because going into it, there was some concerns about his durability, whether he was okay, and I think he threw for 246 yards, 20 for 28, and just and a touchdown on Sunday. Saquon did the rest for the most part. He didn't do much, but he threw more than he normally does, and he played up to speed. How you guys feel about how he looks as far as him faced off against Mahomes? Are you really confident about him, not just because of the one game, but just overall? How do you feel about him matched up against Mahomes if it comes down to the game being decided between the two of them in their play? How do you feel about Hurts, confidence level wise?
I mean, if I'm a Philly fan, I'm okay. I think he played well in the Super Bowl that you mentioned. They lost to Kansas City. I thought he played very well in that game too. I don't think he's the one that takes the loss on his shoulders. So if you're them, he looked hard to tell because, like you said, he didn't have to really put himself out there. The pass, Washington was so afraid of what the run game was going to do to him. He did take some shots on the tush push for 40 plays in a row before the officials said,
"Oh my
okay,
goodness,
guys, let's just cut it out. We're going to give him a touchdown."
I wanted that to happen so badly. By the way,
just to be able to say, rooting
for it.
Cool.
Yes,
they just gave him a touchdown.
Okay.
But
I will look at years, but I've been watching the NFL literally for like 5 decades, like actively involved in this to some degree. I've never heard of this rule.
No,
it's never come up. I never heard commentators talk about it. Have you guys heard of it at all?
No.
Have you seen any sign of this? Where did this come from?
But the official in the booth knew it too, though. He's like, yes, guys, Article 17. But he was like, he knew it right away. Also, yeah, I feel like the 3 officials, G's territory. He knew it right away. I feel like they all got together and they were like, what are we gonna do? And one of them knew that rule and told everyone else. I feel like that's what happened. But the chances of all of them knowing that rule, I think, was 0.
Because of, and I mean, this happened again in the college game with Dan Lanning this year. I think, like, Belichick, I know is someone. Vrabel got famous for it because he did it against Belichick. But those guys that know the rules that give you that one up. It gives you an extra play, or, like, hey, if I put 12 guys out there, the clock still runs, then I get the penalty, but I get that time to run off. I feel like this was the same thing. I mean, but if you're the Commanders, what else are you supposed to do? Like, if the choice is let them just walk in the end zone, or I keep on trying to do this, as a defense, I get it. I don't, you've basically told them I'm going to let them cheat, because before the tush push, the action of it was illegal too. You couldn't aid the runner, and then they changed the way that's voiced and make it available to where you can actually run this play on a pretty consistent basis.
This kind of stuff doesn't go well when it happens in the Chiefs game. At this point, anything they got to do with the Chiefs or anything where they are in the picture, it's already bad news or bad blood about the referees. Now you're in a game where a play like that, or a potential play, giving somebody a touchdown, awarding it.
Mm-hmm. In their defense, though, what were we supposed to do?
At least mine, anyway. I'm like, I don't know if I can trust these guys.
Yeah. In their defense, though, I don't know what else they were supposed to do, because it was dragging on and on and on. And it's hilarious that we're sitting there taking this much time for one play in a game that you lose by 32 points. Like, let's just move on at some point, and I get them, they're their desperation point, but at some point, come on, especially if you're diving over so much that Jalen Hurts is moving out of the way because he knows, like, okay, I see this is happening again. Like, I'm just gonna slide over. You're not even making a play anymore. Now you're just kind of wasting our time. So.
If you guys knew what the point was, by all means, you can tell me. I know after a couple of them, I get what was supposed to be happening. They're just inching closer to the line, but I don't really know what the overall big picture was. What do you expect to happen?
Yeah.
What you hope would happen? Not a fumble, not a forward pass, probably. What were you hoping happened by continuing to prolong this? I think I'm missing that part, but
yeah, agreed.
I don't know everything, but it is what it is. All right. So one thing I say about Washington, I'm giving them their props before we move on to the next order of business. But I'm giving them their props, man. It gives me hope. I know it's just not my team. I'm sure that the Pats can perhaps have some hope too. Maybe some other teams that, like the Titans and what have you. You can go from worst to almost first. It's not impossible. It shouldn't take a franchise 12 years to rebuild.
No,
it doesn't have to take that long. You just take some smart decision making. Washington is proof that, you know what, you can accomplish that. So
yeah, especially if you nail the most important position, though. That's like what a lot of this tells you. They had a foundation of other stuff because they'd already leaned into the running game. I don't, depending on what people think about B-Rob, he's been solid back there. The line hasn't been great, but you look at his numbers. His running's been fine. McLaurin has been fine as a wide receiver. He's just never had anybody to throw to him. So there has been pieces there. So you just got to nail that one position first.
Copy that. Well, if you guys got any questions about Philly or Washington or the Super Bowl, drop them in the comments section. We will jump on those ASAP. All right, so the marquee game of that night, the one we were all waiting for, let's be honest about it. We were Buffalo and KC, the defending world champions. Overall thoughts before we start getting into any kind of details. What do you mean you got to go? Where you going? You just got here. It's all good, man. Thank you, brother, for jumping in. Appreciate it, man. All right, so Buffalo KC. Did the ref? Let's get right to the question people might be thinking about. Did the referee play a part in this game's outcome, in your opinion? I don't care if it's a small part, a big part, medium size. Did they play a part in the outcome?
I'll say there was only one play that was on my mind. I thought Josh Allen clearly had the first down. I thought it was not even close. And then you watch a replay of one official being on one side of the line and the others, like you guys are clearly watching two different games, I think that, but I do. Well, I don't know. Do you want to address? I do think they made enough other mistakes in enough other areas to where you can't okay. Well, I mean, you can't start that as slow as you did. I think I meant to write down this number because I was listening to a Buffalo broadcast, but their success rate on third and fourth downs with 1 yard was way off the mark of what it normally is, in the regular season. He was like at 90% I think, before this game, and he's like 20% in this game. So there were certain things you did well that you didn't do anymore. Kincaid, you got to catch that pass if you really want to give him another shot here, and it looked harder than it did. I know slow motion slows it down, but like that, it hits you both hands like that. Those are catches you just expect your guy to make, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but I think you do. I think you got to catch that.
I apologize. You're right.
Yeah. So
that play right there, those are the ones that I really have questions about. I know we're sitting here and we're commentating, playing armchair quarterback and everything, but this is just what, for my small sample size of experience, when you're hungry for something, you do things and you attack things in such a way that everybody can see that you're hungry. When he was going for that pass, it was kind of sometimes not just him, but players in general. Sometimes they kind of have like a passive, lackadaisical attitude, like I'm just like it's like routine, like as opposed to what, this game was on the line. If I don't make this catch, we're already behind. We're up against it already. If I don't make this catch, we're in trouble. And these guys are the world champions. Whatever you want to say about the referees is probably warranted, but they play differently. Pacheco didn't have a great day at all. I mean, I had him on fantasy for the whole year. I mean, so I watched when he wasn't injured. I watched how his running style and everything. He's aggressive in everything that he does. Even in catching the passes, he's aggressive. And you can see the difference. With Kincaid, it was like, I hope I catch this. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, I'm going to catch this. Ain't nobody going to stop me. That attitude, I saw it in a few places on the Buffalo side. And the defense, that's another thing. We'll hopefully get to it in a little bit. But, Shane, what were your thoughts on, were you done with yours, Herb?
Yeah. No, I mean, that was kind of my overview. I'll see.
Okay. Shane, you got one?
What? I think the first thing when you talk about a fishing, I agree with Herb. I think the number one is the spot. Like you mentioned, Yusuf, anytime Kansas City's involved, especially this year, they're going to talk about officiating being bought out and Mahomes gets every call. And, you can play that game as much as you want. But I think throughout this year and throughout the NFL, the spotting of the football is one of the weakest things. Like Herb said, you have two linesmen running in. One sees it as a first down. The other one sees it not. They're both looking at the same play. We have 14 camera angles, and we don't just triangulate where the ball actually is on the field and go, it crossed, it's a first down. Like the NFL can make this go away. The other thing on that end, like you mentioned, I think Kincaid does have to catch the ball. I think he and Mark Andrews fall in back-to-back weeks where they knew that those were catches they would have made on any normal occurrence. They didn't come through. That's tough on them. Both of them took ownership of it. But the thing that stuck me about Buffalo is you all of a sudden decide to do, and Herb mentioned the third and fourth down, you start doing this tush push when in the first drive, Cook ran the ball well, and then all of a sudden you decide to abandon an actual running game and try to design this. The other thing, and it's McDermott drives Bills fans nuts, you took points off the board, and if you had kept those points on the board, you would have been talking about a tie game right there, not having to come back from behind. And so those are the ones that build up. McDermott has these decisions when it comes down to late games where fans end up ripping their hair out because they know that at some point the Bills are going to make a mistake like this. I mean, credit for them to come back and get in that game, but like we said a couple weeks ago, I know I mentioned, they looked terrible this entire playoffs in the first half of games. Like, just did not look prepared to go. Now, there's a whole, myriad of reasons why that could be, but just from somebody who just watched those first halves, you would have thought that the Bills were the lower ranked team every single time you watched them play in the playoffs.
Agreed.
Yeah, that in the first half especially, sometimes it's just so obvious. If we can see it on TV, I don't understand how you can't see it. You know what I'm saying? If we're sitting watching TV miles away from here, why you can't see it? The middle of the field was just wide open for almost like the entire first half. Mahomes just he was throwing sidearm to Xavier Worthy. I think he threw a 30-yard to Juju. That probably wasn't even the only one. All over the middle. And just kept on doing it for almost the entire half. I think it was the entire half. And it's like Buffalo never adjusted. We talk about whether Sean McDermott's seat is hot. Probably nobody's gonna say that now because he got so close again, I guess. But that kind of stuff is like you can put that on the defense. Is that on Babbage or is just a McDermott thing? Because that middle of the field was open a lot of the time and he never really solved it. Even in the second half, it was still going on. Not as much, but it was still happening. Benford went out with a concussion, so that was a problem. But they brought Elam in, and Mahomes was just abusing that young man. I'm sorry to say it. You know what I'm saying? But it was just rough. So I don't know. I mean, we didn't really talk about defense coming into the season. We talked about the offense because they lost Diggs. They gave Morse away or let him go anyways. They had Gabe Davis gone. So their offense was going to look tremendously different. And here we are. They outplayed their coverage too. Their defense, their offense was decent enough to go all the way to the title game, which is like commendable. But the defense just didn't show up. I looked at the last 6 games of their defense. I wanted to see it. There was a trend here with Von Miller because he had goose eggs for almost every one of those 6 games. A tackle here, that was it. But in this game, no tackles for losses, no pass defended, no forced fumbles, no nothing. I'm talking about did not show up. And it was like, there was an article where he was talking about that. I'm like, why y'all asking him? He should have been the first one to be like self-deprecating, like, man, I didn't show up for this game. I'm the wrong person to ask. He was making comments about the defense. I'm like, no, you didn't do anything. And they needed him, that leader out there. They brought him in here for that specific reason, and he didn't show up. So the defense, they got a lot of questions to ask themselves and look in the mirror to think about. But you guys were talking about that play with Kincaid and everything. Was it last week that we talked about the blitz rate? Was that last week? You guys recall that?
Yeah.
Okay. When they played again in week 11, I know I mentioned it somewhere. Sorry, but in week 11, KC was doing that same thing they were doing. They were just rushing Allen, I think, almost 50% of the time. And Allen was converting passes and making plays in the heavy blitz package that Spags was throwing at him. So I figured if they did that again, Allen should be able to respond. But for some reason, they blitzed at a clip of about 64%, I think it was, in that game. And Allen did not respond very well. he looked frazzled. Even though you saw it in week 11, not many weeks ago, he looked frazzled. He looked like he wasn't ready for it. That play with Kincaid didn't catch the pass. They were thinking like kind of like no blitzing, and then they sent 3.
Yeah.
Everybody been talking to been saying that Allen's been prone to go to his left side. Well, he went to his right side and had 3 guys sitting there waiting for him. So he had to give him that ball real quick, and Kincaid wasn't able to come down with it. So there's a host of things that's going on with the Buffalo Bills. But at the end of the day, I said this on a different show. I kind of still feel good about it. I had to reserve the right to change my mind in the offseason, but I feel like they're running out of opportunities to do this. I feel like, you had a chance to do something that technically you probably shouldn't have done. You lost a lot of talent on the offensive side. Shakir was your best wide receiver, and he's basically a slot guy. Mac Hollins was trying to help out, do some things in the postseason that you probably shouldn't expect him to do, but he was there. He did. He showed up, and you faced the juggernaut again, and for some reason, something else went wrong. Last year was something else, and before that, it was probably something else. And it's like, here you are again. I'm like, I don't know. I know Allen is young, and if he comes up on contract, I'm sure they're going to extend him and let him out of the building. But I feel like you're running out of opportunities here because this is a chance where I guess KC should technically be a little weaker than normal, and you couldn't capitalize on it. Do you guys feel like, I won't use the word window because we use it so much. So find a different word and just plug it in. Do you feel like the Bills are kind of running out of time real quick, or you think they got another couple of bites of the apple legitimately?
Well, I think it's like Herb says, when you're looking in the draft, the number one thing is if you have the quarterback, then we've got one check mark, we got to build off it. If you're the Bills, you let pieces go, and I don't think you matched pieces coming back in. And for them, they've been good enough the last couple of years where you're picking at the back half of the draft and you're not getting a game changer a year. Like they've had to their linebacking staff has gotten hurt every single year the last 3 years solid, where once it becomes playoffs, you're playing 2 years in a row. They had to play somebody that they literally took off the practice field and put them in to start in a playoff game. So your defense is behind the 8 ball. You haven't been able to build up. You mentioned, your supposed defensive star, 0-0-0-0 across the board. The only play that he really made was he got lucky when Lamar Jackson left the ball on the turf after that bad snap, and he got to walk that one in. I think it's tough for the Bills. I think they're going to stay in that middle ground. I don't think the AFC East is going to get like light years better.
Right, yeah.
So I think they can still own that division pretty easily, but they're getting to the point now where you're going to have to make moves, and they've tried to do it in free agency. But like we said, if you're looking for a wide receiver and Shakir's your number one and you're getting guys that are retreads, you're not building that wide receiver back up. You're not giving Allen weapons. He has 2 great tight ends, but they're not going to come through every time. This game proved it. You need somebody that can bust the top of that defense, because that's why Spagnuolo could send 3 people. And that Kincaid, like you said, he sends a corner and he sends them all from the right-hand side, and he could still shift defenders over, knowing that there was nobody on Buffalo that was going to be able to get deep enough for them to have to worry about.
I don't have the confidence that the AFC East is going to stay the same. I think everybody's going to improve. There's little things happening on each one of these teams that can signify improvement. You guys got Vrabel, right?
Yeah, but I think the Patriots, even with a coaching change, they're going to play better, but they're not the top of the league. I think Miami still has a bunch of weaknesses. I like Aaron Glenn, but the Jets are a dumpster fire, even with him coming in and changing things around. So if you're sitting there and you're the Bills, you're going, okay, we're still the best team. Yep. We need to add pieces, but
I wouldn't take it for granted.
No.
They're not playing in the NFC Central though. It's not where you're the Vikings and you won 11 games, Detroit won 11 games, Green Bay won 11 games, and you're like, if we drop a single game, we're out of the playoffs all of a sudden. If you're the Bills, you can play around and be average in the AFC and still get what you're looking for.
Yeah. To his point, they own the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are probably your second best, and they own the Dolphins. You have no idea what the Jets are doing until they, actually get a quarterback. And then, New England is probably at least, a couple years away. There's a lot to still build on. So that's going to be their problem. We've got Josh Allen in a winnable division. So what moves do we make, And then we're talking about wide receiver in there. You picked at the end of the first round, you trade back with, please, like the Bills and Casey are not allowed to make zero, no more trades. Like that has to be a league-wide rule that somebody needs to implement or something. I just don't understand it. So, but you're basically picking a first round wide receiver, like you pick Coleman. Is that going to be your guy? Like you can't continue to pick wide receivers, So it's like you're almost right there, and there's a move or two you're missing. But it's like, are you just getting complacent because you have Josh Allen and we're just not going to address certain needs? I don't get it. But if we looked at I know it's a college football comparison, but Ole Miss was getting tired of getting beat by Georgia. So when they went into this transfer portal and when they went into this class into the next year, and Lane Kiffin even said it after they finally beat them, every move they made for this last year was designed to get them past Georgia. I would look at the tape right now and I would just throw away the division and throw away everything. I said, what player is a player that could help us beat Kansas City? And that's all I would look at. Here's the game plan. If we had this here, all right, let's go get that. And I feel like, do I make it sound simpler than it is? Yeah, but that's got to be your only focus.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If your last name is McDermott, what else are you thinking about? I say what I said about the AFC East because I feel like offensively, they got more talent than we've seen. There's been reasons why that talent hasn't come together. Mm-hmm. Most times it's a quarterback situation. The Bills gave up 217 yards and 17 to 18 first downs in the first half. That's not going to work. I don't care what division you're in. That ain't gonna get the job done. So if I was McDermott, I'd be thinking, okay, how do we beat KC? One player? I don't think there is one. You got to do something else with the defense. You got to make Mahomes. There was a time, I forgot what year it was. I don't want to say last year. I think it was the year before. I just remember Mahomes running for his life. I'm like, that's what you got to do. You got to have him be very, very uncomfortable in the pocket and have him running and have him have to try to throw on the run because he knows he can get smashed if he doesn't get pancaked if he doesn't. The Bills don't provide that kind of confidence. So it's going to take more than just one player to get you there. But yeah, I think you're right. If I'm McDermott, I'm like, okay, how do we beat Kansas City? What do we do? Who did they lose to? How did they lose? You got to do that.
Well, I think if you look at the Bills, the things they've done the last couple of years that really have made me shake my head is Herb mentioned, you go get Coleman. Well, Coleman, for what he is, even what he produced at Florida State, he's a Greg Davis clone, and you just let Greg Davis go. So you're going to take a guy that was in the NFL that had played that role, had done well for me, and I'm going to take a rookie who has the same traits and then play him.
Yeah, okay.
The Bills let go of their entire defensive backfield that was never a problem for them, and then replace them with parts that were lower quality, but the same characteristics. So, you can't just go, okay, we'll just keep piecing it. This is exactly what happens. And then, not that they can be prepared for this, but the same thing has happened with Miami. You get in the playoffs, and your defense has had to fight for so many weeks in a row that everyone gets injured. And then you don't have a pass rush, and you don't have linebackers, and then now we get exposed. And like you said, for Mahomes, you just got to beat him. You physically have to make him not want to run around and make plays anymore. The best thing the Chiefs did, and according to Andy Reid, it was all Tooney's play, was that Tooney agreed to go out and play tackle for him. To take an all-star guard and have him step out and play tackle at the ability that he's played has made Patrick Mahomes know that he can sit back there and make plays. And during that time when everybody was saying, I don't know if the Chiefs are as good as they have been, that was why. Because Mahomes didn't have a pocket to sit in. These last couple of games, he's shown that when you give him time, he's going to pick it apart.
Mm-hmm. You almost feel like the Bills. Sorry, just my last point. You almost feel like the Bills thought this was a transition year with everything they were losing, and then all of a sudden, Josh Allen settled down, played at the MVP level, and all of a sudden they were the 2 seed versus where they thought probably going to take our lumps this year. We don't have a championship caliber team this year. We've lost too much. We're going to ride this out for one more year and build. And all of a sudden they were there, and now they don't have the team to beat Kansas City twice in a year. So it's from the outside, that's what it kind of looks like. Like they were just not prepared to get this far.
Mm-hmm. Is anybody else is it okay to make a Brady comparison here? Because it reminds me of this. We talked about it so many times, and this was probably before the Giants beat them in the Super Bowls. It was kind of before that. People were trying to figure out how to stop him. How to stop him even more than the Patriots, how to stop Tom Brady. And it wasn't until he started getting hit by specific guys on the Giants who really enjoy doing it, that it just changed. It had him seeing ghosts, and he became a shell of himself in certain situations. I mean, those Super Bowl runs were defensive domination. And a lot of it was because he wasn't allowed to do the things that he normally would do. I don't know why this is so difficult to understand.
Well,
we want the same thing out of Mahomes. In order for you to not allow him to be able to do what he has been doing, the quote unquote magic, I'm saying, you got to pressure him a lot and make him uncomfortable back there, and make him have to do things outside of what his comfort zone is, because he ain't comfortable with everything. You can see that in a lot of, if you watch all the games this season, you can see there's something he's not comfortable with doing. Make him do that. If you facing vintage Bill Belichick, that's what would happen. Bill Belichick would take away the thing that you love to do the most and force you to do something that you don't like to do. And he did it to the tune of 6 Super Bowls. So it obviously works. So not just McDermott, but everybody should be thinking like this. What do we do to make him uncomfortable where he is and make him do things outside of his comfort zone, make him do the his third favorite thing as opposed to his first and second favorite thing. Make him do something he don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? And you have more of a result and you see a difference because he runs that team. It goes through him. You know?
Well,
am I right on that?
I think you hit on it, Yusuf. The thing is, and the parallel of this is scary because Spagnuolo is the one with the Giants that decided to let 3 defensive ends rush the quarterback and make Brady's life hell in those Super Bowls. If I'm a defensive coordinator, and I know it's big in the college and high school game where you put quotes all over the wall and make something. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I stand in front of my team and I steal from Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And you can be the greatest quarterback ever. And when you have to pick yourself off the ground, I don't care who you are. Nobody wants to get hit. And
Especially
if
that man
has to limp around and linemen have to pick him up off the ground, you are a human being. You are going to lose focus. You're going to do different things. I mean, even Brady talked about it after he got his knee blown up. You know, he wasn't the same player in the beginning. He had to retrain himself to be able to not be a step ahead of getting rid of the ball. The NFL is built on quarterbacks, and the more pressure you can put on them, either through constant contact or changing up what they see, that's the way to play defense in the NFL.
Yep.
Right. Any other closing title game thoughts? I'm gonna ask you guys a quick question or two about the draft, and then we'll go ahead and shut it down for the night. Any closing thoughts about the title game? Games?
I will say San Francisco and Baltimore last year had that kind of formula against Mahomes, and they played good games against him. Just offense let him down. So the formula, like you guys are saying, is clear. It's just you also have to get the other side of the ball to capitalize. You know, like in the Bills game, you come out in the third quarter and you shut down that offense, and then your offense gives you 6 points. So it's like there are opportunities there. The problem is teams just aren't, because you look at the year. This wasn't Patrick Mahomes' best year. They were in close games every other week. You know, but they said, look, the defense is going to keep us close, and we got the best closer, and that's what's going to happen. So a lot of these games, I think, are just lost in the second or third quarter, and we just kind of look at the fourth quarter. It's like, oh, it was great there. No, you needed another touchdown, another stop earlier in the game. And Buffalo clearly needed that. Yeah.
We talked about this somewhere. I don't know. I know you were there with me. We talked about this somewhere about how the I guess the culture of the NFL is that, you know, after you play games against teams, you figure stuff out, you make adjustments, you learn. And that's what makes the NFL, you know, competitive every year, because you know people figure stuff out. It's like, so to me, I'm like, because we know that, and I believe that, I think you do too. It's weird to me that they're talking about 3-peating and 4-peating. That's weird to me. It's like, okay, ain't nobody learning nothing that can help you nothing. Travis Kelce, we got a little Twitter thing going on, and I asked, was he the best tight end? Because his girlfriend says he was. So I'm like, the best tight end? No, he's not. I'm not even entertaining that right now. But he's playing in these games, and he's not even having a good year. You think Mahomes didn't have a good year? That man may have had a worse one, and he's still on the so-called best team, going for a 3-peat. And people are talking about a 4-peat already, and the season hadn't even started yet. How is that possible that the whole rest of the league hasn't figured out what to do, and they can just roll to a 3-peat and a 4-peat? I know people say referees, and you know, I get some of that, but that can't be my reason. Like my dartboard message that, you know what, they're gonna have a 3 and a 4-peat and to be the greatest team in NFL history, going 4 straight Super Bowls and winning them because of the referees. I can't swallow that. So why is nobody else figuring this thing out? Maybe it's the question that we can't answer, but I'm just talking out loud. Why can't anybody figure this out yet?
Yeah. It's almost like they're not seeing them as the boogeyman yet. And it's like, I don't know. After we just went through what we went through with the Patriots, you would think the next team to win one, everybody would gang up on, and it's just not. And I'll say something about the refs, and I know all 3 of us here have had our championship teams, you know, especially when the Patriots are winning a bunch too. You know, Alabama has gone through this. I'm sure Giants were there with. every team that wins, everyone says the refs are giving them all the calls. And you actually go look at games, and it's actually like, I know for us, statistically, we were getting in the bottom 5 of it, but everybody says you do when you win. But I think it was Nick Wright that had a good one. He's like, there's 32 owners in the league. Do you really think they all got together and said, we're going to let one team win? And that's how it's rigged? Like, you think the other 31 are just sitting around going, yeah, that's fine. Another one for KC is fine. I don't want the playoffs. I don't want that money. So like
Jerry Jones agreed to let somebody else win?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So
not him particularly.
Yeah.
He's a big voice in the ownership room. No way.
Yeah. I think, like you said, though, Yusuf, the other thing that comes with this is the same way you said, like the league starts to decide and figure things out. I think you also have to give a huge amount of credit to Andy Reid and Spagnuolo in that they've been able to take the blueprint that they have and mold it around the changes they've had to make offensively and defensively these last couple of years. The Kansas City of the past was more dominant offensively. They're certainly not that now. The last 2 years, Spagnuolo has really been the push for them defensively. And I think Andy Reid has always done a great job of using bit pieces to get his yardage when he trusts his quarterback. I think that's how Kansas City's pulled it together. I don't think it's been pretty at all this year. I don't think any of them are happy about how the offense is played, but I think getting the victories is what counts for them. The other thing, if you're on the Taylor Swift thing, I'm not going to knock Travis Kelce. I think he'll be a Hall of Fame tight end, but he's not even the best tight end in his franchise's history, and he played with Tony Gonzalez. So, I mean, Travis Kelce, the one thing I give him credit for is that when he talks personally, I think he fully believes he's great. But he says, I'm not Shannon Sharp, I'm not this, I'm not that. He knows, and this has been a really down year for him. I wouldn't be surprised if both he and the brother take the full retirement and make even more money not getting hit.
Yeah. There's a lot of money waiting for them outside of this.
Oh,
for sure. For sure. I agree with that 100%.
I'm good with that. All right. So before we get out of here, we're going to be getting into the draft. Usually that happens for me in February. I start doing my work, and I start looking at tape and that kind of stuff. I want to ask you guys a question. If we close it out and it's a dud tonight with the answers, no worries. We're going to just have fun with it. What's one guy? Before we close out, what's one guy that is in the draft? Maybe you've seen him at Senior Bowl or whatever. What's one guy that you believe is going to be a surprise first rounder?
Ooh.
One guy. Don't care what position. One guy you think might surprise people and jump into the first round.
All right. Can I go with the Oh, go ahead, Shane. Yours.
Go ahead, Herb. No, I'll let you go so I don't cheat off you. Go ahead.
Well, you're not going to cheat. Nobody's going to cheat off this answer, but this shows my bias. And of course, he had a bad first couple of days of the Senior Bowl, but I'm going to go with Jalen Milroe and say that somebody at the end of the thing, takes a. Do I believe it? I don't know. But if this is the question I put on the spot. I don't know if I believe it, but I'd have to do more draft work to see on somebody who I think is on the fringe and then be closer. So if you told me right now who's somebody who, like, I'm sitting here thinking second or third earliest, but somebody might see him at the combine, see those intangibles, and sell themselves on it, and I'm looking at you, Pittsburgh Steelers, who he's been linked. Yeah, he's been linked that I could just see it, So that's my first answer without doing a whole lot of work. That is my SEC bias, Alabama bias answer, 1,000%.
I don't have a Michigan guy to put in there, but go ahead, Shane.
So
I don't have one.
So I did not see Herb saying that, but to keep on the SEC bandwagon and in the same position,
Jackson Dart.
What?
Yep. So that was my answer for who is a sleeper that you see, like the general question that I don't see him in first round, but I think that's somebody people are looking at. So Shane was kind of cheating on my answers.
I don't necessarily pump him up, but I think like we mentioned before, my thought is Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are not the top quarterback. Like, they're going to get picked top. I get that. But they're not the franchise quarterbacks that people think they are. And I think Jackson Dart has decided that he was going to go in the Senior Bowl. He's looked real good the first couple of days. I think people already knew that he was athletic and had arm talent. And I think he's going to be one of those guys. It's cliche to say, but I think he's going to wow him in the interview room. And I think the Senior Bowl is going to help him. And on another year, I think there's no chance that he becomes a first-round quarterback. But this year, there's going to be a team that gets froggy that's going to want to move up, thinking that they're not going to get a talented guy. And I think he's the one that pops up.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
To one of his points, one of the things that I had pulled up, sorry, I was trying to find it again. They mixed in Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward with the group from last year. And they put, with you combined with those, they had Cam Ward at 4th and Shedeur Sanders at 7th. So combined with the draft class for the quarterbacks from last year. So to his point about how everybody thinks of them as the top two. But no, he was on my radar too, Jackson Dart. He did play a lot of years. He set some records at Ole Miss. So it's an interesting one. And then, like you said, if you're a quarterback needy and there's only 2 that you're thinking about, people are going to talk themselves into some bad decisions. We all know that. So,
well, and I think this is a draft that's built for you to drop back this year.
Yes,
I think
agree.
if you're not set up, like I said, on Tuesday night, Ben in the Sports and Money podcast, he put me on the ringer and made me be the GM for the Patriots. And with them picking 4, I said, if you fall in love and you're Vrabel and you like Abdul Carter, then I think you make the pick and you're happy with it. If you're not, there's a bunch of teams that really, really love Carter. That's the time where you let them draft him and you move back in the first round and then you steal a second round pick for him. You can build talent in this draft, but I don't think quarterback wise, this is a high end talent draft. And I think if you're drafting Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward and think that they're going to have a Jaden Daniels, CJ, first year, I think you're way out. You're way out of your league on that one.
Well, I don't think he's going to start with us, but either way, but hey, stranger things happen. I'll do my.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you don't think he's going to start, now in the NFL, that's a tough pick for that to be. If that's your number 1 pick and you're going to draft a guy and you don't think he's going to start for you at quarterback right away, in the NFL now, I would have dropped back and took somebody else.
Yeah. I will say this. I agree with sitting him the first year, though, whoever it is. So, I've always said that. But I see what Shane's saying there. Like, if you don't think he's the guy to jump in there. So, I don't know. You get mixed results with that.
I'm down with sitting him. I think I've said that in a couple places, too. But if the bridge guy gets hurt, I want to know, this guy can go in.
Right.
And play.
Yeah.
That's happened to a lot of folks.
With the injury on a bridge guy, I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
But I agree with Herb. Like, people who think that you can go, it's the same as the move up. Like you see these guys that they're 5-star. They're the best player in their area in high school. Then they get to the college game, and they're the best in that. The NFL is the best of the best of the best. Regardless of how prepared you are, every single person has that welcome to the NFL moment where you realize that in college, not every guy was 6'7", 340, and ran a 4.6. But that's what I'm playing against in the NFL. And it takes a while to figure that out, especially at the quarterback position.
Copy that. I'm going to give you mine real quick, and we're going to get out of here. Mine is an O-line guy out of North Dakota State. He goes by the name of Greg Zabel.
Zabel, yep.
I think he's going to be a day 1 dude. I think he's going to be starting. He's a very versatile O-lineman. I think he's played every position. He's nasty. He has an attitude. He has a toughness. I think he projects to be at a guard, but he can play all 5 positions and has done so in the past. So I like that. Not a whole lot of length there. I think he has the strength and balance you want to have at that position. He can fill the holds up. I think the guy is nasty. He knows how to finish. I think he's a day 1 starter, man. So, but probably a guard, but I like him. So we'll see what happens. I think Mel Kiper likes him too. So we'll see how that goes. But
I think that's a good pick. I think you draft him and move him to center. I think he could be a cornerstone for you at center. But like you said, I think he could start right away as a guard, and then you move him. I think you take somebody like Barton in Tampa Bay. You know, if you have a smart guy that can handle it, has a little bit of rough attitude, and can be the leader of your offensive line,
I take
play him at center.
I love to have him. We need O-line guys too, so my eyes are on him anyway. We need that too as well. But great show, guys. Definitely enjoyed the back and forth. I'm excited about the draft. I'm sorry we had to shut it down, but we do heavy draft going between February going into April. Where you guys gonna be watching the draft at? From a wing spot or from the crib?
Usually from the crib.
Mm-hmm.
You too?
Won't we be doing the show in the middle of the draft?
Yeah.
No, we like in this the first year of that, but yeah, well, yeah.
You good with that? Now, I might have that question offline. I'm trying to figure out, okay, so that's something that we show. I seen people show it on the screen. Do we have to do that?
You can't. I don't think you can show it on the screen. The last one that I saw that did a live, you can't show it on the screen. I don't think you can show any of these events on the screen, like while they're happening. But so your live is just saying what the your buddies at Single Squad. What they did was they put a graphic up for when the team picks.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not that technical, so we'll just say it.
The NFL will hunt you down for broadcasting.
Stuff, but I don't have the time to do that. But it's all good. We're gonna have fun with it when it comes up. Doing the whole first. We can't do the whole first round. We just do a good chunk of the first round. As long as you guys can hang out, we'll do it like that.
I'm down.
I'll do the whole first round. It don't matter to me. But your call. We probably have the best numbers we ever had in history. So think about that. But thanks for listening, everybody, to T3, that Thursday night thing. Herb, Roger's already out. Shane's about to step out, and I'm Mr. U. Thanks for joining us again. Enjoy the short, brief music. We're out of here. See you next Thursday.